Welcome back. You're watching True Performance. I'm Chris Widener along with Zig Ziglar, and we're talking about leadership. Zig, you learned leadership from a lot of people over the years, but you got your start early on learning leadership from your mom. And the family's such an important way that we learn to become leaders. Let's talk a little bit about family and specifically some of the lessons you learned from your mom.
My mother only had a 5th grade education, but she was truly wise. My dad died when I was 5 years old, 6 of us still young, too young to work, on a job. But my mother was wise. We survived, this was the Depression years, because we had 3 milk cows and a big garden. I never will forget that first lesson I learned in the garden when my mother gave me an assignment. It was to hoe 2 long rows of beans. She started by showing me exactly how she wanted it done. Then she said, "Now son, I'll be working in another part of the garden. When you finish, call me and I'll come look at it." Well, I finally got the job done and I called her and said, "Mama, I'm ready." Well, she walked over and as she got about 10 feet from it, she started shaking her head left or right.
And how old were you at this time?
I was a young teenager. I think I might not even have been a teenager. I might have just been 10 years old. But anyhow, she started shaking her head. I said, "Well, what's the matter, Mom?" She said, "Well, son, you're going to have to do this job over." And I said, "Well, why?" She said, "Well, son, to tell you the truth, what you've done would be perfectly good if for any other boy or somebody else's son. But you're not any other boy, you're not anybody else's son, you're my son, and my son can do better than this." Wow. I think that's one of the great leadership principles. She had criticized the performance. It needed criticism. But she had praised the performer because she knew that the performer needed some recognition and praise. And that was one of the great lessons that I've ever learned right there. You got to hold people accountable, but when you do it privately and in a way that lets them come out as a winner. See, I left there as a winner.
Oh, yeah.
Had I done my job properly to begin with, it would have only taken me about 10 minutes longer. But because I had to do the whole thing over, it took at least 30 or 40 more minutes. So you save time, you perform better, and the profits for the company are always going to be better when everybody's performing
And she
better.
set the standard higher. You know, if you were going to become a person of greatness, she knew that she had to instill in you sort of that desire for greatness.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
For most boys, it's okay, son, but you're not most boys. In other words, she was saying to me, "You're special. You can do better than this."